Have I been wrong about Ahsoka Tano all this time? So, if you are aware of my channel, you know I've talked extensively about Star Wars, and yes, yet again, I'm talking about Star Wars again. But of course, it's always something new. Anytime you hear a new Star Wars video, it's just something new about our culture, maybe about the fandom, not really about the writing, because I just don't watch Star Wars anymore. That's a fact. But if you've been with me for any number of years, you know that I have had a playlist on the terrible writing flaws of a character like Ahsoka Tano. I really did think that Ahsoka was going to be the one to replace Luke Skywalker. One reason is pretty obvious. She's involved, heavily involved with the different facets, the different stories. And also because Dave Filoni just can't let her go. And Dave Filoni is, an executive creator. So it's like, yeah, it's going to make sense that he's going to really want to use her to, usurp Luke Skywalker. I've known that he's never liked Luke Skywalker. So what has changed then? What has changed my position on her actually replacing Luke Skywalker? I'm coming to the belief that she's probably not going to. I'm not saying that Luke Skywalker won't be forgotten. He very well may be forgotten generations to come. I think that's Disney's plan to obliterate all memory of Luke Skywalker. But why is Ahsoka kind of kicked out of fulfilling that role? And it really comes down to one thing. I didn't notice this, for 3 years talking about Star Wars, and I didn't even notice this. But the reason why Ahsoka cannot replace Luke Skywalker and his legacy is that she really does not have a legacy herself. Yes, she's been in many stories. She's had cameos and she's had arcs and she's had all sorts of different, places and all sorts of different timelines as far as, the animated series and the shows, the Clone Wars, the Filoni's, animated series, as well as Rebels and stuff like that. And then, of course, she's now a live action character and not faulting the actresses involved with her character at all. However poor the story is executed from here on, because it's going to bomb, the writing's going to bomb. Anyway, that's not the point. She's been in stories. She's been in many, many, many stories. So why can't she replace Luke Skywalker in importance? Well, if you notice, her stories, no matter what they are always these stories are just about her being tethered to an already established character. Ahsoka's role as a character has been inseparably linked to Anakin Skywalker, an established character and also a major established character in the Star Wars universe. So we really haven't seen any arc where she is her own agency, where she has her own antagonist. She's had a plethora of all sorts of bad guys, but bad guys that other established characters have fought. Obi-Wan, with his villains like Grievous and Cad Bane and stuff like that. And she's gone toe-to-toe with them for some odd reason. She's gone toe-to-toe with Ventress. She's always had a villain that the other characters have had. And she's always been linked to Anakin Skywalker. She is only important in light of his importance. I didn't really realize that until just a few weeks ago, when all this Star Wars news was happening. She had to be loved by any sort of reflection off of Anakin Skywalker. So if Anakin, who we know is going to become the most lethal Dark Force user, and aka Darth Vader, but we're still endeared by him and his antics as a young Jedi Knight, especially with what Filoni did with the Clone Wars. I'm not really a fan of those Clone Wars anymore now that we know Dave Filoni's agenda. I mean, okay, there are some good moments in the animated series. I did enjoy them at the time, but that's an aside. We grew to love Ahsoka Tano because she was liked by Anakin. She was liked by Obi-Wan even. She was liked by Padme. She was liked by all these characters that we already knew. She's been linked to all these characters who are already established. Luke Skywalker was not. He was close. He was closely related to all the featured characters and all the main characters: Obi-Wan, Princess Leia, Han Solo, Darth Vader, and then ultimately Emperor Palpatine, in the final part of that saga, the original trilogy. But he had his own arc. He had his own hero's journey. There have been moments where Ahsoka has had her time to shine as a hero. Some arcs are terrible for her, and she is not a hero in many of those arcs. But there were a couple. I remember one in particular where she actually, I was rooting for her as a character, and she overcame the odds in a very, I think, nice way, at least as far back as I remember it to be. But she's never had her own agency. It's always been linked to an already established character. It'd have been one thing if she was like Luke in that she was surrounded by new characters. This is kind of the fault of the sequels, where Rey and the chemistry that I did see Rey with the two other protagonists, Finn and Poe. There was chemistry in that final installment, like the Rise of Skywalker or whatever, but it wasn't executed in the previous films, so we never got that chance to actually resonate with Rey. Rey also, to an extent, is facing the same problems with the writing as Ahsoka is, in that Rey was. The writers tried to make us like Rey in light of Luke Skywalker. Like with Ahsoka and Anakin, it's Rey with Luke. And now we're trying to be, Filoni's trying to endear Ahsoka to everyone in everything. And because of that, I don't know if this new Ahsoka show is going to hold any water as a good show, as an argument of good writing, because she hasn't had her own story already. She's taking over Luke's role with the Thrawn trilogy of the EU. She's a substitute teacher. She's not the iconic, memorable teacher you had or the professor you had that paved your way in terms of entertainment. She's always substituted. She's always replaced and substituted. And because of that, I don't think she can. I don't think because of writing and how she is not archetype. She's not an archetype. She's not archetypal of any means. She just acts as a substitute. I think there's where I was mistaken about her. I thought she had enough, or at least I thought she had enough importance imposed upon us. I thought Dave Filoni was just trying to make her too important. And even if he tries to make her absolutely too important, super important, it's not gonna have a long life. I think her legacy is going to be short-lived as long, for however long Filoni is there and however long Ahsoka is going to be used. That's how long she's going to live as far as her legacy. And that's a good thing to me, because I unfortunately like her character design. I thought she had potential, but she's not a good character. She's a terribly written character. And because of that, I was mistaken. I was wrong. She is not going to replace Luke Skywalker. They're going to try to make Rey replace Luke Skywalker, obviously. And I hate to say it, but Luke Skywalker, because of Disney's shenanigans, Luke Skywalker will most likely be forgotten unless people keep talking about him and talking about how cool he is. but Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Han Solo, they will be forgotten. I do believe that is Disney's agenda. But I really did think that Ahsoka Tano was going to be the end-all be-all of all Star Wars. Filoni, mark my words, he's going to try to make her as transcendental in the Star Wars universe as possible, more powerful than Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. But because of the poor writing, it's not going to hold. I think she will be forgotten. She's going to be a byword in the next 10 years, and she's probably going to be forgotten in the next 20. What causes that? Terrible writing. Yeah, terrible writing. So just don't underestimate the readership and the viewership of the world, of people who do love these archetypes. And so that's what I wanted to say. I think I was wrong about Ahsoka Tano. Terrible character. The writing still stinks. But she's not going to replace Luke Skywalker. If she does, I'd be surprised, but I don't think she is. So there we go. That's all I've got to say. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And until I see you next, keep producing and preserving that good art that you love. And I will catch you later. Thanks.